Can you hear me?
Hi, Adrian. Yes, I can hear you. This is Lisa.
I can hear. This is Bill.
Nick, you may be muted.
Yep, I'm here. Sorry.
I don't have any video of you guys though. Oh, maybe that's how I did.
I'm eating, that's why.
We weren't sharing video until we were ready to start.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Yeah, no, I couldn't get to my audio or my video. It wouldn't let me do anything.
Oh,
And now it won't let me put my earphone.
I'm playing Mr. Mom tonight, so excuse me in advance if there's any interruptions.
This should be fun.
yep.
I told him to only come and bother me if the house is on fire.
What if there's blood?
Oh, stop.
That'll put the fire out.
Oh,
That's where the rub some dirt on
Welcome
it
to the-
comes in.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Motley Crew, Maria.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
hi, Maria. Welcome.
Welcome,
Thanks.
Maria.
Hello.
Hey, we need an introduction.
Well, Rhonda's going to do that, I believe.
Well, I think before we get started, let's just chat here.
Yeah.
Welcome, Maria.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting reading for 224 pages for me to get ready for tonight.
Should be a good night for you. A little bit of everything. A little bit of everything.
Yep.
It's smorgasbord today.
When I had my training a few days ago, I think Bill was saying that the hardest thing is all the abbreviations. So I've made myself a list of all the abbreviations so that I can have a key guide as we go forward. So
Wow, you're so organized. Awesome.
You're very prepared.
Mhm.
Maria, you're really out of focus. I don't know if it's your camera.
it is. It's my crappy webcam.
Okay.
For next time, I'll get my Boise State students webcam. I have like this, I don't know, 1990s one, I think. So,
It works.
yeah.
Morning or good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Stephen.
We'll be saying good morning at the end of the meeting.
Yes.
No,
I
no,
hope not.
No,
Let's not do that
no.
again.
No, don't do that to Maria. Or
It's not
any
on
of
our first one. You gotta wait till at least the second meeting to do that. I think I had Costco as my second.
us.
Chair.
Yes. We're at 6:01, aren't we? Okay. Oh. Let's see. Okay. Do we have Andy yet? Clerk, are you ready?
Hey, Bill Casnelli.
Yes.
Okay, so I just read your email to me. And I think that would be inappropriate if it's a use that's allowed.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for our clerk yet.
Yeah, I don't see Andy on. I see it Chambers. Are we waiting for them to get council chambers up?
I assume so. They may be having difficulty.
Okay, yeah, if you're just joining us on YouTube, we're waiting for some technical issues, we believe, from the chamber office. Yeah, I just got a text from Adrienne. She said they lost sound and they're working on
Can
getting.
you hear me?
We can hear you now.
While we're waiting, y'all want to know a cheesy joke?
Sure.
What does Tom Brady pay for corn? A Buccaneer
That is corny.
with the Super Bowl. So it's about the only good joke I've got.
Definitely a mom joke. That was good.
I was gonna say that you've definitely delved into mom joke world.
I did.
Bravo.
Where's the drum roll?
Of course, we're live streaming on YouTube too. So hello world.
And it is recorded and it's on the
All-
internet.
Yep. It's fitting with the Super Bowl this weekend though, right?
You are forever memorialized.
It'll be a time capsule 10 years from or 50 years from now, and they'll say, "Who's Tom Brady?"
No, he'll still be playing. Yeah, Adrienne said they just lost sound again, so they may have to restart. Oh, there's Andy. So nobody else has a joke that wants to compete with Lisa?
No one else wants to be on YouTube with her joke.
It's open mic night.
Hey, maybe your chance,
Here's your chance.
to go viral on YouTube.
Yeah.
My wife says I can't make jokes, but just my life in general and how I interact is a joke.
Yeah, Adrienne said they've got to reboot the whole system, so this will be a few minutes. So who's ever brave enough?
I saw Bill make a cameo. Usually he's pretty brave, but then he disappeared. Bill Parsons. He was there for a second.
Maria, this is has not been typical for these meetings this past year, but the last one we had a little bit of delay. I think it started at 6:17, so we'll see how we do
Yeah.
tonight. But it usually has gone very smoothly.
I haven't
And then-
done too much Zooming over this whole thing. Just to give you a little background, I work with my husband at a transportation company here in Meridian, and there's really just 3 of us. So we haven't had to Zoom too much, and we're not really in the public. So it's been kind of nice. So I get to keep working.
Yep. This will tune you up though. This will tune you up and get you up to speed with the rest of the world that has had to do remote and has had to learn a lot about it and the technology that goes with it.
I
And
watched
sometimes the
college.
delays.
I watch my college students do it. I have a daughter at home at Boise State. I have a daughter who's living in the city at Boise State, and I have a stepdaughter who's up at U of I. So we fly both flags at this house and confuse all of our neighbors.
3 in college at one time. Wow.
Wow.
You're
I
brave.
think there's a lot of those multi-fan houses in the Treasure Valley. Yeah, this has been just this meeting and the last one where we had technical issues. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can be back in chambers before too long.
I'm gonna duck out for about 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I will say it's better than when before we had Zoom and you had a live stream on YouTube and call in if you were not there in person. So
Yeah, this would be good for the future.
Hear us now in chambers?
Yes.
Perfect.
Madam Chair, we're ready when you are.
Okay. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for February 14th, 2021. The commissioners who are present for this evening's meeting are at City Hall and on Zoom. We also have staff from the city attorney and clerk's offices, as well as the city planning department. If you are joining us on Zoom this evening, we can see that you are here. You may observe the meeting. However, your ability to be seen on screen and talk will be muted. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, you will be unmuted and then be able to make comments. Please note that we cannot take questions until the public testimony portion. If you have a process question during the meeting, please email cityclerk@meridiancity.org and they will reply as quickly as possible. If you simply want to watch the meeting, we encourage you to watch this streaming on the city's YouTube channel, and you can access that at meridiancity.org/live. And with that, let's begin with roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Holland,
Here.
Commissioner Grove,
here,
Commissioner Yearsley,
Here.
Commissioner Lorcher,
Here.
Commissioner Seal,
Here.
Commissioner Casanelli,
Here.
Commissioner McCarville.
Here. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. We have Foxcross subdivision H-2020-0113 that will only be open for the sole purpose of continuing this item. It will open only for that purpose. So if there's anybody here tonight to testify on that particular application, we will not be taking testimony this evening. So with that change, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and we have 2 items on the consent agenda. We have approval of minutes for the January 21st, 2021 P&Z meeting and findings of fact and conclusions of law for the Village at Meridian Cafe Rio drive-through H-2020-0116. Could I get a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
Move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. So at this time, I would like to briefly explain the public hearing process. We will open each item individually and begin with the staff report. The staff will report their findings on how the item adheres to our comprehensive plan and unified development code. After the staff has made their presentation, the applicant will come forward to present their case and respond to staff comments. They will have 15 minutes to do so. After the applicant has finished, we will open the floor to public testimony. Each person will be called on only once during the public testimony. The clerk will call on the names individually of those who have signed in on our website in advance to testify. You will then be unmuted. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission. If you have previously sent pictures or a presentation for the meeting, it will be displayed on the screen and our clerk will run the presentation. If you have established that you are speaking on behalf of a larger group like an HOA, where others from that group will not be speaking, you will have up to 10 minutes. After all of those who have signed up in advance have spoken, we will invite others who may wish to testify. If you wish to speak on a topic, you may press the raise hand button on the Zoom app, or if you are listening on a phone, please press *9 and wait for your name to be called. And please, if you're listening on multiple devices, a computer and a phone, for example, please be sure and mute the extra devices so we don't experience feedback and we can hear you clearly. When you're finished, if the commission does not have questions for you, you will be muted and no longer have the ability to speak. And please remember, we will not call on you a second time. After the testimony has been heard, the applicant will have another 10 minutes to come back and respond. When the applicant has finished responding to questions and concerns, we will close the public hearing and the commissioners will have the opportunity to discuss and hopefully be able to make final decisions or recommendations to the city council as needed. So at this time, we'd like to open the public hearing for item H-2020-0113 Foxcroft subdivision for the purpose of continuing. So if we could get staff's comments on Foxcroft. They have requested continuance to February 18th in order to continue working through comments by staff. Does staff have any other comments at this time?
Madam Chair, no, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So could I get a motion to continue item H-2020-0113 to February 18th, if that's
So moved.
acceptable?
And
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to continue H-2020-0113 Foxcroft subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is H-2020-0111 Aviator subdivision. And I would like to thank the applicants for coming back this evening as we ran a very late meeting last time. So, but we'll begin with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second that. Thanks to the applicants. Appreciate that very much working with this. As noted, the subject application before you now is Aviator subdivision. But it's not really a subdivision, unfortunately. I guess it's just Aviator. But the size of the property is 9.8 acres. It's currently zoned ME, and it is located near the northeast corner at Black Cat and Franklin, as seen on the maps on the screen. It is the hatched parcel here, north of the Compass Charter School, and to the east of the Hensley Station. So to the north is the railroad. North of that is some county residential land. To the east is also county residential. As noted, south of the property is Compass Charter School, and to the west is R15 zoning with an approved attached single-family residential project. The property was annexed in 2018 as part of the Compass Charter School annexation and comp plan map amendment. It is in the mixed employment future land use designation of the 10-mile interchange specific area plan and does have an existing DA. Hence, the summary for this request is 3 parts, and all of it hinges on the first one. The applicant is requesting a comprehensive plan map amendment to return the subject site back to the future land use designation of medium high density residential for the purpose of developing the site with a residential use. And after that, there is a request to rezone the property from ME to R15 to match the existing residential property nearby. And finally, to modify the existing development agreement for the purpose of removing the subject property from the boundaries and terms of that agreement and enter into a new one consistent with this proposed residential development. Sorry, I always got to click, and there we go. This is the existing concept plan in the development agreement when Compass Charter School owned the property. In short, if the map amendment is not approved, The associated rezone and development agreement modification are not applicable because they are both contingent upon the future land use changing back to a residential designation. The applicant is requesting to modify the comp plan map for the subject parcel in order to allow for residential zoning and uses instead of mixed employment or other industrial uses. The current future land use is mixed employment as noted, which encourages research and development, office, light industrial, information, and other ancillary commercial uses. Instead, the applicant is requesting to return the property to its original future land use of medium high density residential. This designation allows for a mix of dwelling types, including townhouses, condominiums, and apartments. So with the 2018 annexation, Compass Charter School, when they annexed into the city, this was their path of annexation. And they also requested a comp plan map amendment at the time so that they could, well, to be more specific, they received the approval for the comprehensive plan map amendment at the time to change the underlying land use from the medium high density residential to mixed employment. This request and subsequent approval to change the future land use was so that the new school could be constructed and an adjacent county landscaping business could also be annexed into the city and still comply with code. At the time, it was determined that the map change was applicable because the subject parcel was conceptually shown with a sports field, track, and stadium, and was the school's avenue for annexation. However, in 2020, Compass Charter received approval to modify their concept plan and DA to move their sports field to the parcel directly adjacent to their east. Therefore, this 9.8 acres is no longer part of their long-term plan and was subsequently sold to its current owners. Because the applicant is proposing to return the parcel back to its original future land use designation and become a more compatible land use to its neighbors, staff supports this requested map amendment. Thus, the subsequent MDA is to modify the concept plan and incorporate new provisions based on the new plan. The same can be said for the rezone request of R15, which would allow future development of the property with a residential use in line with the proposed concept plan. To be clear, the applicant is not proposing a plat at this time. Future development will be driven by the development agreement and its provisions associated with this concept plan. Specifically, it is important to discuss access for this project in a separate section, regardless of the fact that no preliminary plat is being proposed. Access is proposed to be extension of the Collector Street West Aviator and a subsequent local street off of said collector. West Aviator currently provides access, one of the access for Compass Charter School to the south, and will provide access to Hensley Station directly west. Due to the pattern of development, Aviator will only be extended to the east boundary of this subject site, not connect to any other road until such time that more parcels to the east develop and annex into the city. This is one more reason why the applicant is not choosing to submit a plat at this time. Because of this, it is imperative that the conceptual layout of Aviator is well thought out and shown in a position that allows for fair and convenient extension in the future. Staff shared these concerns with the applicant and they revised the concept plan to show a more appropriate extension of Aviator. Staff is appreciative of the applicant's ability to work with staff and revise the layout for these above reasons. Revised concept plans now show Aviator heading northeast into the parcel from its terminus in front of the Compass Charter expansion, crossing the drain once in this site, and then stubbing to the east property line north of the irrigation pump station in the southeast corner of the site. This new configuration allows for future extension of Aviator to occur without a need to cross the drain again, and not require this applicant to acquire land from either of the two county parcels directly to the south. This new layout generally depicts the same internal layout with some shifting of the site to the east to accommodate easements and some loss of the internal green space that is replaced with other green space. With the future preliminary plat, staff will analyze the open space for the property and make sure it conforms with UDC requirements. There was only one piece of public testimony provided in at least as of this afternoon. And I was with the property owner directly to the south, the Bowery parcel. It's because the original concept plan showed Aviator continuing straight across and across her parcel. There has not been any agreement to acquire any land between the two owners. So that in conjunction with my comments to the applicant revised the layout and understands that this is a more appropriate layout for that. Once Mrs. Bowery spoke with the applicant and understood what was happening, she voiced to me that she had no other concerns. The applicant has stated that they are in agreement with the staff report, and staff does recommend approval of the subject applications. After that, I will stand for questions.
Madam Chair.
You're muted, Madam Chair.
Yep. I was sorry, it wouldn't unmute for me. Commissioner Yearsley.
So the drain runs through the middle of the property. Are they going to relocate that drain, or what's, or because the what they were showing concept wise looked like they were having houses on top of the drain.
Commissioner Yearsley, yes, sir. You can kind of see it here.
Okay.
See my pointer? This black line is what they're kind of showing as the gravity irrigation, and then you can kind of see the easement. They're going to reroute it so they can utilize more of the site. That is the plan, yes.
But this is just a concept plan, not an actual plat, correct?
Yes, sir. And the DA would be absolutely tied to this.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Casanelli.
I want to just bring up a point of, not necessarily a point of order. I just want to let everybody know, my fellow commissioners know that I serve on the board at Compass Charter School. So I've got a relatively close tie here, but I do feel I can be objective on this and impartial. But I just wanted to let my fellow commissioners know if they had a concern.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Casanelli. Any concerns from the other commissioners?
Here.
No. Okay. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Joe, for a great review of the project. I do have a few slides to share, and I'm not sure if they are going to get, is the clerk going to post them, or should I share my screen?
Kristen, if you could go ahead and share your screen. I've changed it, so you should be able to bring your screen up on your computer now and share.
And thank you again, Kristen, for coming back this evening.
No problem. It's going to take me just a minute to make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Okay, this is sharing a little bit differently. 1 second. Shares a little differently than we use Teams.
There we go.
Okay, that's not showing presentation mode though. Oh, there we go. Okay, are you seeing a full screen of the slide? Yes. Okay, great. Yes. Thank you. So thank you again, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I am Kristen McNeil with the Land Group, located at 462 East Shore Drive in Eagle, 83616. As mentioned by staff, we are going for a comprehensive plan amendment, a rezone, and subsequently a, 1 second, and then a modification to the existing development agreement. This is another view of the project site. You can see Compass Charter School here, and the project site is dashed in white. This is a new diagram that we added. This was not submitted with the original application. This graphic kind of shows a little bit more, as we are not submitting a pre-plat, as Joe mentioned. This graphic really highlights some of the more important parts of this application, which is, as Joe mentioned, the collector road going up through the parcel, as well as the general open space plan and blocking for residential areas and showing some pedestrian connections as well. And as Joe mentioned, we originally anticipated that Aviator Street would continue directly along the southern part of the parcel. But after the meetings with staff, ACHD, as well as conversations with the neighbors, including Miss Bowery, who I spoke with on the phone, she's the neighbor to the south here. Based on that feedback, we were able to resolve those concerns by moving the collector road up through the parcel, as well as there is a pump station in this corner here. So that way that it routes around that as well. Because of this, the site definitely offers some challenges for development, with the Purdom Gulch drain running through the center and this pump station in the corner. But we actually feel that this offers a great opportunity to stretch the creative imagination and explore dynamic solutions for site planning, housing type, and distinctive open space plans. And here we have the concept plan that was submitted with the original application. This shows the townhouse style product on this parcel. And you can see what we're showing here is how it speaks to the development, the future development for Hensley Sub and the existing Compass Charter School, as well as the new parking lot that Compass Charter School is working on right now. So what we're showing here is just how this will fit in with that residential character of the neighborhood. These parcels down in the southeast corner are not annexed yet. While this application does not formally include a preliminary plat, we have evaluated appropriate options to create a premier Meridian neighborhood that supports the 10-mile interchange and specific area plan. This includes exploring a variety of products suggested for medium-high density residential districts in the 10-mile area, including townhouses, duplexes, fourplexes, etc. The area plan envisions residential lots that feature walkable neighborhoods and a community feel, with the intent to complement existing and planned neighborhoods developments nearby. With the site constraints mentioned before, this site offers unique and exciting opportunities for creating a dynamic and very original open space plan that will be unlike others in the area due to the layout of the site. We anticipate further exploration of integrating pathways and amenities to maximize open space, as well as opportunities for unique walking and gathering spaces involving natural play or potentially sport areas, all to encourage an interconnected community. In addition, we would be exploring architectural characteristics such as varied facades and materials to create greater architectural variety and interest. So in summary, the application again includes a comprehensive plan map amendment to medium-high density residential, which will be bringing it back to its original designation, a rezone to R15 and from MU, and development agreement modification just subsequent to leaving the existing development agreement. And as well as for the staff report, we are in agreement with the staff report. That one diagram that we included, we think kind of further clarifies since it was not originally included in the documentation. So we do think that would be a beneficial to include in the staff along with the development agreement documentation, but we are in full agreement with the staff report. So with that, we respectfully request your approval tonight, and we'll stand for questions. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair,
Okay. Oh, Commissioner Seal.
quickly, just the diagram that was up there, and I know it's not a plat, but it still looked like it was kind of going in on the corner of that lot, the private property where that comes through there. Is that going to swing through there like that, or is it going to be completely on? I mean, is it not going to breach that property line at all?
You're referring to this, can you see my
Yes, I
my
can.
mouse?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're referring to this corner right here?
Correct.
Yes. No, I guess this looks like the way that it's drawn here, it looks like it could be kind of going over that, but ultimately, no, it would not. It will be routed so that so it will not go into that property line. There has not been an agreement between that property owner and the owners of this parcel. So that's why this will be routing up through through our site completely, which also, as Joe mentioned, gives helps out with an area further east where it would ultimately, the original, if it would just go straight across, it would have had to cross the drain twice. And this way we kind of skip over and are able to continue it a little bit more cleanly further on. Not we, future developers of those parcels.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Adrian, do we have any public testimony signed up?
Madam Chair, we do not.
Okay. Is there anybody on Zoom or in chambers that would like to testify on this application? Okay. I don't see any hand raises, and I think Commissioner Seal doesn't see anybody there, so we'll move on. So Kristen, did you have any other comments? Since we don't have any public testimony? Okay.
No further comments.
One last chance at questions for the applicant then before we close public testimony.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Seal.
just quickly, has there been any kind of engineering review on the modification to reroute the drain? Or is this just completely conceptual?
At this point, I believe it's completely conceptual. I think Matt is on here as well from the land group, and if he has anything to add, he can add. But I believe at this point we've just been doing conceptual.
Okay, and the reason I asked that question is just a concern that if that isn't going to meet engineering requirements for that reroute, then is there a plan B?
Madam Chair, this is Matt Adams. Can I address that question?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. So we have done analysis on 3 specific things. One is sewer, and we've confirmed that the sewer stub from Hensley does in fact allow us to service the furthest lots to the east with adequate depth. So we're good on sewer, and that is, it's shown in this conceptual plan. We've confirmed with Public Works that water service is adequate and will work just fine, which is also good for fire protection and drinking. And then we did do a grade analysis because we do have a full topographic survey of this parcel. And there is enough fall in the Purdom drain that we can do what is clearly a little bit longer length in a pipe. And we've met with Nampa Meridian Irrigation District, and they are in agreement with piping this section, as it's very challenging for them to keep it clean from silts and things like that. So Nampa Meridian has seen this and is in favor, and we have in fact confirmed that the engineering on it works. That's an excellent question. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt.
Mhm. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Could I get a motion to close the public hearing on H-2020-0111?
Moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, I think, I appreciate the question being asked about the drain because that's certainly a concern, seeing all that building going on top of that. So, and other than that, I think they've done well to, push that road to the north just a little, and it does kind of solve some of those issues. But be happy to hear everybody else's comments.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Holland.
my only heartburn when I first read this was, I remember when the project to the west of this came into us, we were excited about this being a sport field because it allowed for more open space for kind of that neighborhood and for the charter school. So I was a little bit bummed to see it not stay a field. And I always hate seeing houses right up against the rail line, but I know our comprehensive plan calls for houses to be right up against the rail line. So I don't know that we have much play there, but I would make the suggestion that when the applicant comes back to bring this forward, that they would be cognizant of how those houses against the back of the lot interacts with the rail, because I know houses against the rail can be very noisy when rail is going through. And right now we're lucky that that's kind of a quiet rail line, but it does still see some service that comes through there. And I work in an office that's right next to a rail, and I can just say that it's noisy and interruptive a lot of the day. So those were a couple of my comments. Otherwise, if the commission decides they want to allow this applicant to change the comprehensive plan map, I don't see a huge concern because everything around it is already planned for that medium high density. I appreciate that they're trying to add some extra open space in there and be a little bit creative with it, but I would prefer to see more open space than less when we look at this project, especially because it was originally proposed that this was going to be an open field that was going to kind of help provide some green space for the surrounding community. So it's always sad when the green space goes away. But those are my comments.
Chair?
Commissioner Seal.
I completely agree with Commissioner Holland on the, trying to do something different with, the property that lines up there with the rail. The only other comment I would make is the shared driveway. Hopefully before that comes back before us, that is a whole lot less than 6 lots sharing that shared drive. I know I know code right now allows 6, but that's really doesn't do our services departments any great favors to have that many there. Other than that, I think everything is well in line.
Yeah, I was actually surprised Commissioner Holland didn't mention that the shared drives are usually her.
I was glad that you said it because I remembered that after I stopped talking, so I was going to bring it.
Yeah.
Nope. Thank you.
I was waiting for it, but yeah, the applicant should know that will give us heartburn. The shared common drive with all those homes on there.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Casanelli.
Well, as long as we're prepping the applicant, we might as well address parking too. So when they come to us with a concept plan, they'll want to have adequate parking in there because that's another one of our hot buttons. So I figured I'd share that. Otherwise, the staff and the applicant are in agreement, and it is being returned to its original. Because I'm somewhat familiar, Commissioner Holland, I can say that what Compass did was move their open field area adjacent, so that neighborhood, if you will, still has some added green space because of that.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Yearsley.
So I also echo Commissioner Holland's comments. I have to admit, looking at the concept plat, I'm not very wowed as compared to what they presented in their comments today. I hope that they come back with what they're proposing. I think the open space and trying to make this together into a community would be really nice. Given what they're showing, it's kind of hard for me to see that open concept plan like they're showing on their photos. So that's my only concern. I guess I'm in favor of the rezone and the land use map.
Okay. Any other comments or motions?
I have one question.
Yes.
Does ACHD or whoever owns the road plan to make it 5 lanes?
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Maria, what is your last name?
Lorcher?
Lorcher?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Lorcher, good to meet you. This is going to be a collector road, which is not 5 lanes. Collector roads are going to be, at most, this is going to be a 3-lane collector, but I believe it's actually a 2-lane. Commissioner Casanelli, if he's been out there more than I have, he might know more of what Aviator is currently. But I think it's a 36-foot wide street section for a collector street, so it will not be 5 lanes. And then furthering that, east of this property line of the subject site, the master street map does not call for the collector roadway to continue. So it actually will likely get downgraded to a local street, and then which would just be more residential internal local streets.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Holland.
I know one other concern that's come up with this commission in the past too is about Black Cat, not necessarily Aviator, because I think Black Cat is slated to be a 5-lane road. Commissioner Lorcher's comment there, but I'm not sure what the timing of that is with ACHD. So it's always nerve-wracking when you put a lot of higher density projects in and that road's not improved yet. But the roads don't get improved until there's enough density to demand the roads be improved. So there's always that catch-22.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair,
Commissioner Grove.
if it's okay, I'll just go ahead and put a motion forward. After considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to recommend approval to City Council of file number H2020-0111 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of February 4th, 2021.
Do we have a second?
Madam Chair. Can
Commissioner Holland.
Absolutely. Commissioner Grove, I don't know if you want to add any comments in there with recommendations to the applicant to reconsider their concept plan when they bring it back for a couple of the items we discussed, or I don't know that we need to necessarily since it's just a concept plan, but I don't know if we want to note that to council so that way make sure it gets across.
Yeah, we could do that.
You thought you were getting an easy one.
I know, I got one. Madam Chair, I'd like to amend my motion to include commission feedback on open space and shared or common drive recommendations as presented in this meeting. Is there another one? Commissioner Holland?
I think you could just reframe it to say that we would prefer the applicant go back to the drawing board on their conceptual site plan before it comes back as a pre-plat request. Maybe that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
And I'll second that. If you're okay with those words.
I like Commissioner Holland's wording.
It has been moved and seconded to recommend approval on H 2020-0111 Aviator subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
So at this time,
there we go. Thank you.
At this time, we'll open the public hearing for item number H 2020-0120, Chewy subdivision. And we'll begin with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes. The application before you is only for a preliminary plat. It is for 6 industrial lots being requested to be platted for ownership purposes. The site consists of 43.87 acres of land that is already zoned IL, which is light industrial. Generally located at 2490 West Franklin, but as you can see in the maps, it's a quarter mile or so east of, no, that's about half a mile, I guess, east of 10 Mile and just off of Franklin Road. To the north is railroad property, just like the last one. North of that is R8 and R15 city residential. To the east is the West 80th School District Bus Barn and our Public Services Transfer Station and existing IL zoning. To the south is Franklin Road, and then south of that is undeveloped CC zoning. And west is also IL zoning, and that contains the new FedEx distribution center. The property actually has 2 future land use designations on it, mixed employment, and what was the other one? High density residential. It's about 20 acres of the mixed employment, about 23.5 of the high density residential. Future land use designations, for reference, can be floated across parcels. It is not parcel specific. The subject site is located within the 10 Mile interchange specific area plan. And like I said, has 2 future land use designations on it. However, the property has had IL zoning for decades. It was annexed sometime in the 1970s. And this zoning entitlement vastly predates the 10 Mile plan. In addition, lot 1 of the subdivision, which is approximately 30 acres, has already received administrative approval of a large e-commerce delivery station that will be operated by Amazon. This is a good point to note that that project and its site design is not up for review at this public hearing, only the submitted preliminary plat. Because of the existing zoning and entitlements, strict adherence to the comprehensive plan is not feasible. And in that sense, strict adherence to the 10 Mile interchange specific area plan. The existing industrial zoning and approved delivery station align with the mixed employment future land use designation that exists on site. Also, because of the existing entitlements and zoning, staff believes placing a high density residential project on the site would not be in the best interest of the city, as it is shown on the future land use map. The city should be gaining this high density residential further to the west as part of the Gateway at 10 Mile project that we received approval from, or we gave approval for last year. Despite not being able to strictly adhere to the 10 Mile plan, staff believes the proposed project generally complies with the comprehensive plan, and those specific policies were outlined within the staff report. All proposed lots meet the dimensional standards for the IL zoning district, and access is proposed via a new collector street extension from Franklin Road, shown as North New Market Avenue here, which will align with the New Market Avenue on the south side as part of the 10 Mile crossing, 10 Mile center, those 17 different DAs to the south. New Market is proposed to continue into the site and then head east and west as an extension of West Fred Smith Street, which already exists on the FedEx site to the west. As discussed, the applicant has already received CZC and design review approval for the new delivery station, which is 141,000 square foot warehouse. That administrative application triggered the TIS, and therefore this plat does not include the TIS. However, because the road extension and overall road layout circulation element of this area are the main issues of this project, I have included the main points of the TIS and ACHD comments, as well as analysis on the existing access points. The new collector street that is required to be constructed with the delivery station will have access to Franklin in 2 places in the future. The noted New Market Avenue here, and further to the west, Wayfinder Avenue. This off-site connection, the Wayfinder Avenue one, is not yet constructed, and the timetable for when it will be is currently unknown, as the adjacent projects, FedEx and Gateway at 10 Mile, as discussed. So FedEx is here on this parcel. This parcel here is the Gateway at 10 Mile. They do not include parcels that directly abut Franklin, and therefore they cannot construct the required right-of-way. So that would be these parcels. I lost my cursor. There we go. These parcels here. So these are still county parcels, and therefore they cannot construct this collector street segment and connect to Franklin. The TIS did not include estimated traffic from, well, I guess first of all, because the Wayfinder Avenue access is not constructed, all traffic from this site will go through the New Market Avenue connection to Franklin. The TIS that was submitted with the CZC for the Amazon delivery station did not include estimated traffic from the additional industrial lots along Franklin because no end users are currently known. Future development should be monitored to ensure that the allowed trip count on one access for a collector street, which is 3,000 daily trips, is not exceeded without constructing the additional access point and right of way to Franklin further to the west. This may limit future development until such time the second access is constructed. And the applicant is aware of this. In addition to the traffic volumes produced by the delivery station, the applicant's TIS did include traffic from the West Ada School District Bus Barn and the Public Services Transfer Station, because they should also access the new East-West Collector Street and the new signal at New Market and Franklin. The existing private road for West Ada School District and Public Services is an exit-only access to Franklin and cannot be closed with this application because it is not a part of this property or application. In addition, the city cannot force them to use this new collector roadway once it is constructed because they already have their entitlements and zoning. However, this applicant and representatives from both West Ada and Republic Services are working out a binding agreement to close this exit-only private drive and utilize the new collector street. So this is the new private, or the existing private drive as noted, and they are working together to have access here and share the access. Not only share it, but also enter into a cross-access and maintenance agreement to maintain that collectively and not put it fully on this applicant. Staff is very appreciative of this work being done by the applicant and the other outside agencies, as again, I noted that we cannot require that because they are not part of this application. To help ensure that this access can occur for all parties involved, ACHD recommends constructing this segment of West Fred Smith Street as a private street east of the intersection of West Fred Smith Street and New Market Avenue, constructed as a private street instead of a public road. This recommendation is being made because this segment of the collector roadway is over 150 feet in length and would require it to be terminated in a temporary cul-de-sac near the eastern property line, which would take up a lot of usable industrial space. Staff agrees with ACHD's recommendation to construct this short segment as a private street instead of a public road for that reason, and also because this collector roadway is not expected to continue further east as a public road due to the existing industrial development already discussed. And chances are this is not going to redevelop anytime soon. So the chances of this continuing as a public road and then having a temporary turnaround would more than likely end up being a permanent turnaround. As noted, the applicant, West Ada and Public Services, should also enter into a cross-access and maintenance agreement for this segment of the private street to ensure that there's shared costs with the maintenance and use of this access. Other than the road extension and access points discussed within the TIS, the submitted plat and landscape plan show existing accesses to West Franklin still existing. They're roughly around here. This does not align with code, and they will have a lesser classified street to take access off of, so these accesses should be closed. In addition, this lot here is not part of the project as noted here. And this plat surrounds it. They have It contains an existing home that is legal non-conforming in the IL zoning district. And this home currently utilizes Franklin as their access. Again, because it's not part of this application, we cannot require them to close that. But this applicant is required to provide a curb cut for this property along the new collector street, so that when this out parcel does redevelop, it will have access to the collector instead of Franklin. The submitted plans do not show an access being provided to this parcel, and this should be corrected prior to final plat submittal. I do recommend approval of the subject preliminary plat with the conditions listed in the staff report. As of this afternoon, there was no written testimony, so I will stand for any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay. Seeing none, would the applicant like to begin? It can't, you're on our side, but you need to unmute.
How about that?
There we go.
That work?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
And see you. Thank you.
This is pretty simple. It's just a straightforward subdivision with existing industrial. Joe's covered how the accesses and the collector working. Our new market, when it comes out, it's a signalized intersection, which makes it better for everybody to enter and leave out of the site. Our intent is just subdividing and trying to get this done as quickly as possible to help the construction of the existing building or the proposed building that's underway on the site. I can stand for any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move. Adrian, do we have anybody signed up to testify on this application?
Madam Chair, we do not.
And is there anybody on Zoom currently or in chambers that would like to testify? Okay. Hearing none, and Mr. Brown, I'm assuming you're not wanting to make any other comments?
That's correct. We're
Is it?
in agreement with the conditions, and
Okay.
that's all I have.
I'll ask the commission one more time if they have any other questions for you, or if somebody would like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved to close the public hearing.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on H-2020-0120 Chewy subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Any first comments, or where do we want? Commissioner Holland.
I'll just jump in. I think it seems like a fitting use and I'm an approver. I said I wanted to have words first, but I can't come up with words. I think that this looks like a good proposal, and I would agree with staff's recommendation that putting high density housing between the FedEx shipping center and what's in there would be kind of a clunky use. So I would much rather see this stay industrial, and I think it's a good layout. There's definitely a need for more industrial land in Meridian, and this will create some better shovel-ready properties that they can help market to get some good users in there. So I'm in favor of it, and I think they've done a lot of work with staff on the roadways, so I appreciate how much they've presented to us on that.
Okay. Any other comments? I know I appreciate. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'll echo
Sure.
everything that Commissioner Holland said. I think anytime we can increase the industrial footprint in our city is where it makes sense. It's good to do it. We don't have a lot of it, and this it seems like it makes sense to keep with what's surrounding that area already.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I know I appreciate all the property owners around and working together to do those easements on the east-west collector roadway. They're shown in green. I think that makes a lot of sense to not use up that space on a turnaround that's not going to be needed. Yeah. Do you have any other comments or motions?
Chair?
Commissioner Seal.
About the only concern I have is the 3,000 vehicle trips per day, and that's, I mean, it's going to be FedEx and Amazon and stuff like that, but hopefully doesn't turn into an issue. I mean, with Amazon right next to FedEx, that is going to cut down somebody's trips for sure, so.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did they say it with what's going in there now, they weren't concerned about it? It would be when those front parcels get developed. They thought that would be the tipping point.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. There's a couple things there. So the TIS estimated 2,400, and that included West Ada School District for Public Services and then the Amazon facility. It did not include the FedEx numbers because FedEx has their temporary driveway as shown here. And then when the Wayfinder access gets, constructed, it would be waste their time to go all the way down further east rather than they can use the access here. So FedEx should not be using this New Market Avenue, and this is the intersection that 2,400 trip count is being generated from within the TIS. So, but to your other point, yes, as more industrial users come up along Franklin, those may be limited depending on what those uses are.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Seal.
I'll just make a motion here. After all applicant and public testimony, I move to recommend approval to the City Council of file number H 2020-0120 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of February 4th, 2021.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to recommend approval on H-2020-0120. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we will open the public hearing for item H-2020-0125, Human Bean. We'll begin with the staff report.
Can you hear me and see my screen, Planning Commission?
We can hear you, Alan, and we can see your screen.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission. This is a conditional use to allow a drive-through coffee shop to operate between the hours of 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Size of the property is roughly a little bit bigger than a half an acre. It is zoned CG. You can see the little blue box here. I'm sorry if it's kind of blurry. Zone CG is located at 3285 West Nellis, which is northwest of the West Ustick North 10 Mile intersection. To the north is zoned R8. Although that's a little misleading, that's actually an Idaho Power substation. To the south down here is zone CG, which is a pawn shop.
Alan?
Madam Chair, yeah, we need to fix Alan's. We can't quite understand it. It's not coming through.
Alan, it's a little warbly.
What are you not seeing or not hearing?
No, it's a little warbly on your sound, but I'm not sure. To me, I'm not sure if it's your sound or it looks like city clerk might be trying to connect to audio again. And I'm wondering if that's got some interference.
I don't think it's on my side because I actually saw that there were some problems and I checked my internet speed and I'm screaming fast over here.
Yeah, I think right now we can hear you clearly, but I can see where
I'm gonna try moving in closer to my speaker.
Yeah.
Does that work better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
You want me to just start again?
Okay.
Madam Chair, the audio stays that way on our end. That has nothing to do with our audio connection.
Okay. But yeah, the warble seems to have gone away. Whatever anybody moved or touched Bravo. We'll go ahead and continue.
Well, just call
Alan.
me Warbles for the rest of the evening, I guess. Okay, so I'll go back to the zoning warbles here. Adjacent zoning north is R8, which is an Idaho Power substation, which is here. To the south is zone CG, which is a pawn shop and commercial. Directly east is zoned R4 and RUT. That's a parking lot, Rita Husky Park, and a 5 Mile Creek pathway. And then we have single family residential here. Everybody still hearing me loud and clear? Yes?
Yes,
Good?
thank you.
Terrific. Property was annexed in 2004. There's been a couple of DAs that were there that have modified. The most recent development agreement allows a drive-through establishment, but it allows it limits the hours to 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Comprehensive plan recommends this for mixed use, non-residential. So again, this is a conditional use to allow a drive-through coffee shop to operate between the hours of 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. The reason why they're doing this conditional use purely is for those expanded hours. So again, properties for a human being kiosk. Based on the type of use, the applicant requests these hours be expanded. I want to mention that the applicant has worked very well with staff. They've addressed everything that we've had concerns about. And in particular, they've done quite a bit of redesigns for us. We originally had some concerns with the access. This is the first version here. I just thought I'd kind of show you a before and after. The first version was not very clear regarding the right turn, which was here. There's a pawn shop down here, and we wanted to make sure they had access. And this was kind of messy here. It wasn't real clear about whether you could go left or whether you could go right. We also, both of the accesses came from the same entrance here. And then there was an issue with the parking lot where people backing into this would be coming into the same place as that drive aisle. So we had multiple issues with that one. The current version is what you see on the right. This one, the cars will enter the site down here at the south, and they'll go in a counterclockwise orientation, and they'll come out to the north. There's also an escape lane that comes down to the south here. It also allows these same cars from down here to enter in and sort of merge in past the kiosk. And then even better, what we liked is with this version, these two are separate. So the drive-through aisle and the parking lot are separate, so people can come in, park, back their cars out, and not impede this drive aisle at all. This again was done sort of collaboratively. The applicant worked with staff and came up with this version that we thought was much, much better. At the time of the staff report going out, we had 3 additional recommendations. The first one is that the width of the 2-way drive aisle, which I'm sorry you can't read the numbers, that was here, be widened from 24 to 25 feet. That just is per the code. The second thing is that there is a pathway here, a bicycle pathway. If you remember, there's a regional pathway that runs over here that's 10 feet wide. We wanted to, we obviously thought about bicyclists coming in here and picking up a cup of coffee. So we wanted to make sure it was easy for them to do that. So we asked them to widen this to 10 feet. The third thing was that we didn't, drive-through aisles are not always the most visually appealing thing. They originally had give us a screening fence, which you can see here on the top right, but we didn't think that it really screened it well enough from 5 Mile, especially from the houses down to the southeast. So we requested that they add some additional screening, which they did here. And I apologize, you can't really make this out on this particular plan. Is somebody bleeding into the, sorry, I think I heard somebody else bleeding in the audio. That kind of confused me. There's additional landscaping here that it's hard to tell on this landscape plan, but this was updated today. And this is basically juniper type bushes, which are opaque up to 4 feet high. So bottom line is the applicant has addressed all of staff's comments. We don't have any other comments. It would be my recommendation to you tonight, Planning Commission, that because they have updated these plans today, that if you were to support this with staff's recommendations, I recommend that you approve it with the plans that were submitted tonight with the Planning Commission. And with that, I'll take any questions if you have any.
Okay, do we have any questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Holland.
Alan, just a question on the access point that's on the southeast corner coming into it.
Yes, ma'am.
Coming in and out of there, not able to jump into that drive-through line. That was my only concern looking at it.
Well, I mean, that was our concern with this one. Is it possible? I think it's possible, but it's not probable. I mean, certainly they could put a sign there that was a do not enter, and maybe I'll defer that to the architect. I don't think they'd have an issue putting a sign here saying one way or do not enter or something like that. It would be harder to do it on this one than it would be on this. Sure, it's possible, but not probable. But yeah, easy enough to sign that.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that is I'm pretty familiar with this area, and a lot of people drive through the parking lot side off of 10 Mile instead of the back edge road. So I was just worried about how many people would try to cut through there to get in the drive-through line.
Well, I can't say it won't happen. Whether or not they're supposed to is a whole nother story.
Any other questions for staff?
One more follow-up question. Does Nellis Drive to the north, is that already an existing road?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
There's not much. Well, there's not much to it. It's a vacant lot. I believe that again, we probably have to defer to the applicant. It's not super improved, but yes, it is there now.
Okay. Thanks. That's it.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Casanelli.
kind of follow up to Commissioner Holland's point there about traffic coming in from the pawn shop from the south to the north there and jumping in. Alan, is there anything that can be done to that you can require to make sure that doesn't happen, that they can't come in that way? Because I could then see traffic backing up into Pond 1's parking area if somebody's trying to do that and creating a messy situation. Can there be some sort of a divider there that will force vehicles to go around to the right and avoid the drive-through lane?
I'm pausing because I'm looking at the diagram and I'm trying to ascertain what kind of pork chop or what kind of divider could be put in there that could keep cars from turning left while still allowing cars in the drive aisle to turn right. It's possible. I don't have an answer for that. That would be something that probably I and the architect would have to look at. I don't have a quick answer for that one, other than a do not enter sign at this point. It's not impossible. I just trying to think through it right now. I'd have to think about how it would go.
If there was some sort of a curb on the drive-through aisle that would virtually make it impossible for somebody to come in there and turn left and then turn right into the drive-through.
There could be something in the middle, I think. I'm just again kind of eyeing this. I think it's possible that there could be a curb. If you see the two arrows there in the updated design, I'm not a traffic engineer. I think it's possible you could have some kind of curb in between where those arrows are so that the cars in the drive aisle could turn right still and go out, and the cars coming north, could they still do it? Possibly, but it gets harder and harder at that point. I'm trying to think of a way that you absolutely can't do it. It's possible. I just don't have a brainstorm right now, sir.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, this is Bill.
Bill.
Yeah, Bill Parsons.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Bill Parsons.
Well, I just wanted to remind the commission, this really is about hours of operation. Staff still has to continue to work with the applicant on the site design. If there was no restriction in the DA, this application wouldn't even be before you. The applicant would be working with staff and complying with the code. In listening to Commissioner Casanelli's concerns and the commission's concerns about that, it was our understanding in working with the applicant that there's a requirement of that subdivision for that drive aisle to connect into this. And it's really the difficulty here is when you have a drive-through use next to a retail use and the requirement of a CC&R that requires that connectivity. So we can't prohibit people from entering and exiting this site. We have to, per our code, we have to have an exit lane. Any drive-through that's stacking lane that's over 100 feet has to have an escape lane. So I think what we might want to do is, if you want, you can certainly put a condition on this CU to me to enter, just inform the customers leaving the pawn shop to access the drive-through from the western drive aisle. That's probably the easier way, in that them heading out of that driveway heading north is merely an exit or an out only, as to Alan's point. But I think we can continue to work with the applicant on kind of massaging the site design and see if we can improve upon it based on some of the concerns that we're hearing from you. That's probably the best way to move forward on tonight's application.
Thank you.
Both the restaurant use and the drive-through are principally permitted, so it doesn't really require any action from this commission as to the design, the layout here. It's really hours of operation.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Casanelli.
I do have something that's a little more pertinent to the hours of operation. Alan, directly across the street from this, be across 10 Mile, I guess. What is, can you describe that parcel and what's going in there? Because my thought is at 5 a.m. it's headlights. Cars coming in from that direction their headlights would be directly aimed to the lot, directly to the east. So can you speak to that parcel over there?
Sure. Directly to the east is a parking lot. I believe that it is owned either by ACHD or ITD. I don't have the GIS in front of me. So that's basically the parking lot. And I think it's being used as a park and ride, and that's for the park and the regional pathway that's directly across the street. So it is vacant. It'll continue to be vacant. And that's one of the reasons, even being that's the reason why we've recommended that the applicant continue to beef up that screen along the drive aisle up to at least 4 feet to help. And I was thinking more of to the south and the east, about 250 feet to the southeast, there's residential, but it's not directly across the street from this site.
Yeah, I see that residential, but there's nothing. So headlights at 5 a.m. it doesn't look like they're going to shine into anything, really.
It's just parking there.
Okay.
Parking for the park and parking for the trailhead, and I think park and ride.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, at this point, we'll have the applicant come forward. I apologize for the noise before. I thought I had to go close the door, so.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Go ahead, Jared.
My name is Jared Walgren. I'm with JGT Architecture, 1212 12th Avenue South in Nampa. And, I don't have a whole lot to add. I think Alan did a great job presenting the project. As he stated, we worked with him early on to iron out the circulation. And I think, based on some of the concerns, we do have the application in for design review and CZC review, so we can continue to iron that out with staff. Perhaps some striping or even a small median, or maybe bumping the curb just a little bit to kind of guide traffic. But as far as the intent of this application, I think the hours of use are compatible with the area. It does not adversely affect any surrounding properties with headlights and such. So with that, we just respectfully ask for your approval on this, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay. Adrian, do we have any public testimony?
Chair, we have one person signed up to testify, and that's Colby Halker. Colby, one moment.
Yeah, good evening. This is Colby Hawker. I'm actually with ANC Ventures LLC. We will be the developer in the property.
Okay, Colby, could you give your address as well?
Yeah, sure. Address is 451 West Enchantment Street, Eagle, Idaho.
Thank you.
So again, I'm representing the development. We're development partners with ANC. We will build and own the Human Being restaurant and then lease it back to Human Being as the operator. We're in agreement with staff and would ask for your approval. So those are my only comments.
Okay. Thank you. Any other public testimony in the chambers or online? Okay, we'll go back to the applicant if you have any other comments or if the commission has any questions for the applicant at this time.
I do not have any other comments, and I think we've met the staff's conditions and agree with the staff report.
Okay.
So if you have any other questions.
Okay, if there's no more questions from the commission, could I get a motion to close the public hearing on H-2020-012 Human Being?
Moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on H-2020-0125. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair.
Any comments? Yes, Commissioner Yearsley.
I think this is a good spot for this facility. I think the hours of operation, expanded hours of operation are, you know, it's in a good area to have those expanded hours of operation, and I don't think there'll be any issues from the neighbors. So I'm in support of this project.
Okay, thank you.
Chair.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Seal, I think first.
I live pretty close to this, and I use the bike path and ride along the Nellis Drive quite often, so I'm pretty familiar with all of that. One thing that I'll put out there is the drainage area that they're putting in. It's nothing that's been talked about so far, but that's going to clean up a huge water holding area, for lack of better terminology that's there. It's kind of an eyesore on the 10-mile corridor there. So this is going to really help clean that up, number one. I like that staff put in the expanded basically walking, biking path that's in there, because this is, there's walking, what do you call it? Signalized walking intersection there that connects the paths in and out. And there is a park and ride parking lot that's across the street from it. One other remark I'll make is the common street that's behind Pond 1. It's actually behind Pond 1 and the little strip mall there, as well as O'Reilly Auto Parts and everything. That's probably where the majority of people are going to be coming in and out of this, off of Nellis Drive. And if they come through the parking lots, they're going to probably come through and hit this common street a little bit sooner to get into the drive aisle for that. So I don't envision there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be coming through the on one parking lot over into it, because there's other drive aisles between the buildings already to get to that common drive. But I really like the plan and happy to see this going in there. And I think it's going to be a good fit.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Holland, you were off mute for a second. Did you have anything?
I would just say ditto to Commissioner Seal's comments. If he stole what I was going to say, I think he did a great job summarizing. I'm in favor.
Okay. Any other comments or motions?
Madam Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Grove.
Just a really quick thing, just because it's about hours. I'll say I live a lot closer to a human being than the neighbor that's going to be closest to this project, and they have, you know, similar hours of operation. Not an issue. So.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Casanelli.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm in favor of it. There's a, just a couple hundred feet to the south, you got 24-hour Maverick there. So if that's not an issue, this certainly wouldn't be an issue. So I'm in favor of the hours, and I'd be willing to make a motion if we're ready.
Always.
After considering all staff applicant public testimony, I move to recommend to approve file number H-2020-0125 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of February 4th, 2021, with the only modification being a recommendation to work on the traffic flow in there.
Madam Chair, this is Andrea Pogue. It's CUP, so the commission is the decision maker on this one.
And make that approve file number instead of recommend to approve.
Commissioner Holland seconds.
It has been, Commissioner Seal.
There was also, Alan said that he would like it to read that the modifications to the site plan and landscape plan is presenting the Planning Commission, because of the current proposal that you see on the screen wasn't in the public record as of yet.
Okay. Commissioner Castelli, would you like to amend your
love to amend
motion as stated?
You betcha.
My second stand.
All right. It has been moved and seconded to approve file number H-2020-0125 with recommendations. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, it will open the public hearing for H-2020-0126 North Point Recovery Center, and we'll begin with staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Give me just a moment here, get my presentation up. Can you all see my presentation?
There we go. Yes.
All righty. The next application before you is a request for a conditional use permit. This site consists of 3.86 acres of land. It's zoned CG, and it's located east of North Webb Avenue between East State Avenue and East Pine Avenue. Adjacent land use and zoning to the north are apartments that are in the development process, zoned R40. To the east is office, zoned IL, and to the west and south is vacant undeveloped land, zoned CG. Comprehensive plan future land use map designation for this property is mixed use community. A conditional use permit is proposed for a new 30,000 square foot single story residential care facility on 3.86 acres of land in a CG zoning district as required by the UDC. The facility will be an inpatient, outpatient addiction treatment provider with 48 beds and administrative and treatment uses. The proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan future land use map designation of mixed use community in that it will contribute to the mix of uses in this area and the variety of healthcare options available in the city. It will provide for the physical and mental health care needs of the community in relation to addiction recovery and is in close proximity to housing, arterial streets, and businesses. The use should be compatible with residential uses to the north, as well as the industrial use to the east and future commercial uses to the west and south. A segment of the city's multi-use pathway system is proposed along the east boundary of the site between State and Pine Avenue as a public amenity, which will connect different land use types. And that is this road right here, which doubles as an emergency access. Only the eastern 315-foot wide portion of the property is proposed to develop with this application. The western 70-foot wide strip, the shaded area of land, is proposed to develop at a later time. Access is proposed via State Avenue with an emergency-only access via Pine Avenue. Parking is proposed in excess of UDC standards. Based on the number of beds, which are 48, a minimum of 24 spaces are required. A total of 43 spaces are proposed, resulting in 19 extra spaces. Street buffer landscaping is required along State and Pine Avenue in accord with UDC standards. Staff recommends buffers are installed with this development for the full width of the property, including the western portion proposed to be developed in the future. Building elevations were submitted as shown that incorporate materials consisting of horizontal fiber cement siding and stone with vertical wood siding.
Sonia?
Yes.
Pardon, we're still on your first slide.
Ooh. It's saying my screen sharing is paused. I don't know how to unpause it.
Yeah, we didn't
Oh, wait
get
a
any
minute.
of the mouse moving or anything. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Let me know when you can see the elevations. Can you see them?
No, we're still okay. Keep going. There we go. Thank you.
Were they moving? I must
No,
have
we
really
jumped-
bad lag.
We have
Yeah.
elevations now. Thank you.
All right. Did you guys see the site plans at all or no?
No, we were
Okay.
stuck on the first slide.
Let me back up here. And again, the shaded area is the western portion of the site that's not proposed to develop with this site. The access is from State with an emergency access from Pine. And the driveway that's shown along the east boundary of the site. And then the parking area.
Okay.
And again, it is in excess of UDC standards. Staff is recommending that the entire width of the buffer along State and Pine, even on the portion that's not proposed to be developed at this time, is constructed with this development. All right, hopefully that catches us up and we'll go on to the elevations. Building elevations incorporate materials consisting of horizontal fiber cement siding and stone with vertical wood siding and exposed wood beam accents and standing seam metal roofing. The development agreement requires windows, awnings, or arcades totaling at least 30% of the length of the facade to be provided for faces that are viewable from other structures. Final design should comply with this requirement and the design standards listed in the Architectural Standards Manual. The design review application will be processed separately with the Certificate of Zoning Compliance application. No public testimony was received on this application. Jennifer Moore, the applicant's representative, submitted a response in agreement with the staff report. Staff is recommending approval with the conditions in the report. Staff will stand for any questions.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Yes, my name is Ian Hoffman. I'm not Jennifer Moore, but I am an applicant with Cole Architects. So thank you so much for having us.
And could you give us your address as well?
Absolutely. 1008 West Main Street, Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
As Sonia mentioned, I think she summed everything up pretty good with everything. And we do have some additional slides that we could present if we need to kind of give you a little bit better sense of the site development. But we just wanted to speak in favor of this project and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all. North Point Recovery is a growing business that's been around since 2009. They fit a very specific market that currently the city of Meridian does not seem to have a large amount of these kind of facilities. So we think that this will be a great use for the city and a great amendment to this property. And so we really do appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this project with the owner. Sonia, I do have an additional images that we can share if we'd like, but I think you pretty much covered everything.
Would the commission prefer to see the additional photos, or are we good with the staff report? Any thoughts?
Chair, if they have different
This-
elevations and stuff that could be presented, that it would be good to
Okay.
see that.
Sure. Yeah, so if you'd like to load those pictures, we'd be happy to take a look at them.
And just let me know when you can see my screen. Is that all coming up okay?
We can see your screen.
All right. So the site as currently proposed for North Point, as Sonia mentioned, is between Pine and State Avenue, this kind of large green dot here. We're showing a lot more facilities towards the Boise area. So we really do feel like this is creating a or filling a need that the city has in Meridian. That's what we wanted to show you here. As Sonia mentioned, this is a one-story facility in a future developed area. It's currently a kind of green site that's going to be developed with existing commercial use off to the east over here. That fire lane pedestrian pathway connection between Pine and State Avenue is on the east side of the street. And that will be landscaped with in the guidelines of the city and the CUP and development agreement. We will be developing along State Avenue for the landscape and Pine Avenue on the south side of the site with in agreement with the development agreement and the city's recommendations.
Okay.
The facility itself, as I mentioned, is a one-story facility. Sonia talked briefly about the architecture of the site. We are going to be complying with any recommendations for the design review application when we submit later after approval or hopeful approval of the CUP application. So these are not finalized at this moment. And this is the earlier image is the image of the main entry off of State Street, and then the next image is the image off of Pine. So this is that pedestrian walkway here. And then one of the interior courtyard that it will be used only for facility staff and patients. And that is all I had to share. I do appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully we have your consideration.
Okay. Thank you. Could you go back to that overview?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
The one. Yeah. So I think in the staff report too, they made comment about taking care of the landscape. So those things that are out of scope there on the west side wouldn't become kind of trash areas, dusty
Yes,
trash.
and that is all. And we have agreed to the requirements of the CUP, and so that was part of that report, is that we maintain that area. So yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Do we have public testimony on this application?
Chair, we do not.
Okay. Commissioner Seal, do we have anybody in chambers, or is there anybody online who would wish to speak on this application?
Nobody in chambers, Madam Chair.
Okay. 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 If the applicant has no more comments, do we have any more questions for the applicant? Okay, I get a motion to close the public hearing for H-2020-0126 North Point Recovery Center.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing for H-2020-0126. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So again, we have a conditional use permit and the final okay on this. So any comments from the commissioners? We're a quiet bunch tonight. Okay, I think it's a great use, especially in that area. It seems to have all the accesses it needs, and the surrounding should be good for what's going on there.
Chair.
And Commissioner Seal.
I think I agree. I think it's a good location for the facility. I mean, good access and everything. I mean, if I had a concern, it would just be maintaining hours for anybody that's going to be coming in as an inpatient, outpatient, that kind of thing. But that's about it. It's good to see something like this coming into the community. I think it's going to be helpful as we continue to grow.
Any other comments or motions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Holland.
I think it looks like a good use, and looks like they've done a nice job with the site plan. So I didn't hear anybody else jumping up to make other comments. I'm happy to make a motion if we're ready for that. I believe it's just a conditional use permit, so that's our body to decide that. So after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to approve the conditional use permit request for North Point Recovery Center H-2020-0126 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of February 4th, 2021.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve H-2020-0126 North Point Recovery Center. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And moving on through, before we even get to the 2-hour mark, we will open the public hearing for item H-2020-0117 Schaefer View Terrace, and we'll begin with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Let me just make sure my presentation's caught up to me this time. Can you all see the zoning maps?
No, we're still, oh, there we go.
All righty. The last application for you tonight is a request for annexation and a preliminary plat. The site consists of 39.01 acres of land. It's zoned RUT in Ada County, and it's located on the east side of South Meridian Road, State Highway 69, midway between East Amity Road and East Lake Hazel Road. Adjacent land use and zoning to the north, east, and west is future single-family residential zoned R4 and R8. And to the south is single-family rural residential zoned RUT in Ada County. This property is part of Schaefer View Estates subdivision to the south, recorded in 2002. It was deed restricted and was only allowed to be used for open space for a period of not less than 15 years from the date of recording of the plat. That time period has since elapsed and it is now eligible for development. The comprehensive plan future land use map designation is low density residential, which calls for 3 or fewer units per acre. The proposed annexation is for 40.48 acres of land with R2 zoning, which consists of 10.66 acres on the east end of the site, and R4 zoning, which consists of 29.82 acres on the west side. This does include adjacent right-of-way to the section line of South Meridian Road and State Highway 69 and to the center line of Quartz Creek Street to the north. A total of 50 residential dwelling units are proposed to develop on the site at an overall gross density of 1.76 units per acre, consistent with the associated issue.
Go ahead, Sonia.
Okay. The density is consistent with the associated low density residential future land use map designation for the site. Although the proposed density is more consistent with an R2 low density residential zoning district, the applicant is requesting R4 in order to provide a transition in lot sizes between the existing rural residential subdivision to the south, Schaefer View Estates, and the future urban residential subdivision approved to the north, Prevail subdivision, zoned R8. Larger lots are proposed along the southern boundary adjacent to rural residential lots that gradually transition to smaller lots to the north. A common lot that contains a 41-foot wide easement for the McBurney lateral separates the proposed lots from the existing rural lots. And you can see a little bit better on this colored map. The McBurney lateral is right there, if you can see my pointer.
Yes.
And The proposed plat is a re-subdivision of Lot 4, Block 1, Schaefer View Estates, as I previously mentioned, and is proposed to consist of 50 buildable lots and 10 common lots on 39.01 acres of land and be developed in 3 phases, as shown on the phasing plan. The third phase is under separate ownership and consists of one 10.66 acre lot that is proposed to develop separately with the Apex development to the east. If you'll remember, this corner section was previously included in the Apex annexation application, but it was later withdrawn because that parcel was split off through a means that we don't recognize as a legal parcel. So they withdrew that annexation request and that parcel from their application, and now it's being included in this application, but will develop in the future with the Apex development. 2 accesses are proposed via East Quartz Creek Street, a planned collector street along the northern boundary of the site. Direct access via East Schaefer View Drive, an existing local street along the southern boundary of the site, is proposed for the lots south of the McBurney lateral. An emergency-only access is proposed between the cul-de-sac and East Schaefer View Drive, and that is this area right here, if you can see my pointer. Access to the R2 zone portion of the site is anticipated to be provided from the east, as I mentioned, with the Apex development. Direct lot access via South Meridian Road and State Highway 69 is prohibited. The proposed street sections accommodate on-street parking on both sides of the streets, which should be sufficient to serve guests in addition to driveway parking on each lot. Development of the subdivision is required to comply with the subdivision design and improvement standards in the UDC, which include block face standards. The face of Block 3, and that is this block right here where my pointer's at, exceeds the maximum block length allowed and does not provide a pedestrian connection other than the emergency access driveway. And again, that's right here, which may serve as a pedestrian connection between the proposed subdivision and Schaefer View Estates to the south. The applicant is requesting a council approval of a waiver to allow Block 3 to exceed 1,200 feet due to existing site constraints that include the following: the narrow configuration of the subject property, the location of the McBurney Lateral, a large waterway irrigation facility that runs along the southern boundary and through the western portion of the proposed subdivision, and the existing Schaefer View subdivision that abuts the site to the south of the lateral, which does not include any pedestrian pathways or stub streets to this property. If not approved, the plat should be reconfigured to comply with this standard. An emergency access road for fire department is proposed between the end of the cul-de-sac and East Schaefer View Road, but it's not a public access. Again, that's just right here. A 10-foot wide detached multi-use pathway is proposed along South Meridian Road and State Highway 69 within the street buffer as required in the pathway's master plan. A detached sidewalk is proposed along East Quartz Creek Street. Combination of attached and detached sidewalks with parkways is proposed within the development. A 35-foot wide street buffer is required along South Meridian Road, an entryway corridor, and a 20-foot wide buffer is required along Quartz Creek, a collector street. Noise abatement is required to be provided for residential uses adjacent to State Highway 69. A 4-foot tall berm and 6-foot tall Simtech wall is proposed as noise abatement in accord with UDC standards. A minimum of 10% qualified open space, 3.9 acres, and 1 site amenity is required to be provided with the subdivision. A total of 4.05 acres or 14.27% is proposed, along with 4 site amenities consisting of a multi-sport court, tot lot, gazebo shade structure, and segment of the city's multi-use pathway system in excess of UDC standards. A mix of 6-foot tall wrought iron and 6-foot tall solid vinyl fencing is proposed adjacent to common areas. Wrought iron fencing is proposed along the McBurney Lateral. 2 waterways cross this site. As I mentioned earlier, the McBurney Lateral. It's a large open waterway within a 41-foot wide easement along the southern boundary and through the western portion of the site. and a 38-foot wide slough or drain on the eastern portion of the site that the applicant has confirmed with Boise Project Board of Control is not within an easement. And that is this area right on the back side of these lots right here. The UDC allows waterways to remain open when used as a water amenity or linear open space as defined. The council may waive this requirement if it finds the public purpose requiring such will not be served and public safety can be preserved. The applicant is not proposing to improve the McBurney lateral as required in order for it to remain open and requests a council waiver to allow it to remain open and not be piped, as allowed by the UDC. A 6-foot tall wrought iron fence is proposed along both sides of the waterway to deter access to the waterway and to ensure public safety. No public testimony was received on this application. The applicant requested some corrections to the staff report, which have been made. Staff is recommending approval with the requirement of a development agreement per the provisions in the staff report with the following added conditions that are contained in your hearing outline. The 38-foot wide drain on the eastern portion of the site shall be contained entirely within common lots. Fencing is required on both sides of the drain, consistent with the standards in the UDC. If piped, the common lot containing the drain on the eastern portion of the site shall have vegetative ground cover to prevent fire hazard and unsightliness. And modification to condition number 9 to allow the option for the waterways on the site to be improved as a water amenity as an alternative to being piped, as allowed by the UDC with submittal of construction drawings and relevant calculations prepared by a qualified licensed professional registered in the state of Idaho that demonstrates compliance with the requirements for water amenities as defined in the UDC. Staff did discuss these recommended changes with the applicant, and they are in agreement with the proposed changes and the staff report. Staff will stand for any questions. Just realized I did forget to mention the conceptual elevations, excuse me, Madam Chair, that were submitted as shown for this development. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Any questions for staff?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Casanelli.
Sonia, can you go back to that, I think it was the previous slide with the color. One more back, the color seems to be the easiest one to view. There you go. What are the lot widths on 15, 16, 17 in there?
I'm not sure. Give me a moment and I will pull up the plat.
Okay. I'm just curious the transition between the properties to the south.
Did you say 15, 16, and 17?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going to line up to the ones along the north too, 2, 3, 4.
Lot 15 is 90 feet wide. Actually, they all are. 15, 16, and 17 are 90 feet wide.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay. Would the applicant like to begin? And please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, John Brecken, Brecken Land Design, 6661 Glenwood Street, Garden City.
Thank you.
I have a PowerPoint presentation. Can I share that?
Sure. Get Adrian to let you do that.
John, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. You see it? There it is. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. I think Sonia did a great job explaining this. There's a few intricacies to the project, and it's a little bit challenging due to the odd shape, and there's some substantial grade change across the site as well that has led us to this latest concept. We've worked with staff as well as the neighbors to the south to come up with this concept. Our goal was to provide a quality development and to allow or provide appropriate transition from the larger lots to the south and to the smaller lots to the north, which is the R8. So that's why we have chosen the R4 zoning designation. And I will just explain that a little bit more here as we go. Here is the overview of the site location. And you can see the larger lots to the south and Meridian Road on the west. You may be familiar with the Prevail subdivision to the north. That's the R8. Apex then wraps the east side. And here's a quick shot that depicts the existing city limits that wrap around the property in the light gray, and then our project is the dark gray. So here's a snapshot of the current zoning. You can see Prevail to the north, R8, Apex development on the east is the R4. Of course, we have the larger lots in the county to the south of us. And then I believe Apex is proposing R2, or would like to do the larger lots. So that's why we included that as R2 zoning. And then we have R4. And I should note that even though we're proposing R4 for phase 1 and phase 2, that 32 of those 50 lots actually exceed 12,000 square feet, which is the R2 minimum lot size. And that was intentional to provide larger lots, particularly adjacent to our neighbors to the south. And then here again, the color plan. So you can see these lots on the south here are fairly large. And all of these lots that are directly adjacent to the neighbors are of that larger variety. And then we've transitioned, lots to the north of it that will border Prevail to the north of us are a little bit smaller. The McBurney lateral, I'd like to speak to that a little bit. That's a relatively large irrigation ditch. It's owned by the Boise Project Board of Control. And initially, our intent was to beautify that so that it could be utilized as an amenity with a pathway on the side. We met out on site with the Boise Project, and they informed us that we would not be allowed to provide any improvements within their easement there. Due to the size of it, we did research what it would require to pipe that, and it would be a minimum of a 30-inch pipe for over 2,000 feet. And the cost of that would be substantially prohibitive. The initial estimate is about $500,000 to pipe that. You can see we have a pond here. That would be for irrigation purposes. Our water supply comes from the east, and there's an existing pump station kind of right where my cursor is shown. We also did quite an exploration in an effort to provide better connectivity. One of the thoughts was to extend this road, this dead end road here, and connect it up to the Schaefer View Drive. And that proved to be very challenging. There's some substantial grade change there, and there are all the existing irrigation improvements. There's a pump station, as well as a large irrigation pipe that comes through and feeds the McBurney from the east. It comes together with diversion boxes, et cetera, right at that location. It would make it extremely challenging. Let's see, other items to maybe explain. There was some concern by the neighbors down in this area, and regarding density and adjacency to open space. And so one of the changes we made from the original design was to provide a landscape buffer between the new lots and their home. Other things I can share are that we've tried to provide additional improvements in the form of amenities. I believe one amenity is required, and we're proposing 3, with a tot lot, a multi-sport court, and a picnic gazebo. Here's another shot just to kind of depict that transition that we were trying to achieve. You can see the Prevail layout to the north, and how the lot sizes transition as you move to the south. Here's a slide that touches on the schools that would where children would attend. But Mary McPherson's Elementary School that just finished up a classroom expansion. There's Victory Middle School, and then the Mountain View High School. Here are emergency services located on this map, project site. Fire station number 6, this location, and the police station. And response time is 3 to 5 minutes. So here's a shot of what that multi-sport court might look like. Along Meridian Road frontage, that Meridian Road, as you know, becomes busier and busier every year. And in an effort to mitigate that, we're proposing a berm as well as a solid Semtech type fence along the top of the berm. The berm would be 4 feet in height, and then the fence 6, so that would provide a net 10-foot buffer, as well as the landscape and a 10-foot path. Here's a shot of what we'd like the homes to look like. And then this is just a compilation of what Sonia already spoke to about the waivers and exceptions that we're requesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Seal.
I just have some questions on some of the open space that's there on the open space that's south of the lateral. It looks like there's another pond there. Yes. What is that?
Yes, that's an existing drainage area that's a stormwater swale. It takes runoff from this existing street. And right now it's just kind of a dryland seed mix. And so what we'd like to do is green that up and then retain the drainage swale.
And then the common area on the kind of the northeastern side, same thing. There's an irrigation, a pondish area
This
there
one?
that's for irrigation.
Yes, this is a proposed irrigation pond. That was one of the requests from Boise Project when we were researching how to utilize the water right, surface water right for pressurized irrigation. They recommended we provide an irrigation pond.
That'll be dry during the winter time.
No, we intend to, it would just, the water would lower during the winter time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Casanelli.
John, did you get any feedback from the neighbors on the south there about those? I brought up those lots 15 to 17 that are kind of, they're 90-foot wide each, so kind of long and skinny there. That puts about a 2-to-1 transition. Did you get any feedback? And if so, can you talk about that from the neighbors to the south?
No, the neighbors directly to the south of those didn't really give us any feedback. We did get some feedback from the folks here over on the west side. They were mostly concerned. And so, like I said before, we were trying to mitigate that by providing more of a landscape buffer here for them. These lots, I think we're all used to seeing the R8 variety that's very prevalent or smaller. And, these are actually pretty nice sized lots in today's marketplace. While these are 90 feet wide and look a little skinnier, they are, let's see, pretty close to 200. One of them's 215 feet deep. Another one's 194. So they're not what you see typically these days.
Yeah, not the depth, obviously. It's the width because you're getting a 2-to-1 transition. That's my only, when I look at that, that was the question I have. But if you weren't getting any feedback, any opposition from the neighbors.
Yes, sir. No, we did not.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, a follow-up question.
Okay, sure.
Just on
Commissioner
the lots that border the subdivision to the south there, are they going to be limited to 1 story, or is there any limitation on the height that you're going to put on those?
Particularly planning on it, I remember back in the neighborhood meeting, I don't know that, we talked about that, just touched on it, that, we were planning on a variety of home styles and that they would be of a similar design to what exists to the south of us, that style and stature. But that's kind of it.
They'll be closely regulated with H's architectural control.
I could add to say that, the intent is to have a tight architectural control standard there to maintain the quality.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Lorcher.
the lateral that runs between the two subdivisions, I think, John, you mentioned that's being run by the irrigation company, correct?
Yes.
So they will not let you do an improvement. So do you anticipate that just being a dirt road?
Yes, unfortunately, we do. Yes, it was our hope that we could beautify that and provide a pathway and green that up. But they were very specific. If there's some way to persuade them, we would be interested in pursuing it.
And will the home sites on the edges of that road have fencing behind it, or would it be open view?
Correct. That was one of the items that came up with conversation with staff, that the edges of this entire ditch would be fenced, and so that it's essentially inaccessible from a safety standpoint.
Would homeowners be eligible to make a gate so they can have access to it? I assume that becomes a kind of a walking path, or is it completely inaccessible to people?
I think, I suppose you could. I think the intent was that it would essentially be gated off due to safety, since we want to keep it open.
Open canal.
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Or for the applicant, sorry.
Madam Chair, I've got
yeah.
one more question.
Commissioner
sorry.
Seal.
The waterway that's on the northeast side of it, that's on the other side of the homes there, yes, is that going to be covered or improved, or what is it? Sounded like in the staff report there was no improvement, but no plan to cover it as well.
Correct. That's a great question. We were looking at that today because it's not what we're used to seeing. I mean, it is a historic drainage way, a runoff route, if you will, that collects field runoff. It's open facility. It's kind of a broad, open drainage way, and we had talked about potential for piping it. However, since it accepts runoff, just historic runoff, natural runoff from the sides, piping it does not seem to be a feasible option. The intent there would be to seed it and not improve it. That answer your question?
And the reason I asked that question is because, and especially after you said you'd seed it and not improve it, I mean, it's a part of the subdivision that's behind those houses that seems like it's going to be something that's going to be a hassle for them to maintain. It doesn't really serve a purpose, it sounds like, but it can't be filled in and it can't be covered over. So then it just becomes a weed patch that's going to sit behind these homes.
Yeah, I guess our intent would be to plant it with a natural grass. And allow it to continue to function the way it has.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Casanelli.
John, another question on the emergency access there at the end of the cul-de-sac on the south, I guess, southeast portion. I'm assuming there's an easement through those properties there.
There is. There's well, the property I mean, that property actually connects here, but it allows for irrigation access and there is irrigation access easement that, encompasses the McBurney, and it also extends over to the east.
Okay, so that irrigation easement, that's where you'll be taking the emergency access?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none, do we have any public testimony, Madam Clerk?
Chair, we have two people in-house, the first of which is Marvin Ward.
Okay. And please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Marvin Ward.
And if you could pull that microphone real close to you, sorry.
How's that?
Yeah.
That
There you go.
Okay. Marvin Ward, 152 East Schaefer View. I am the first house in the subdivision of Schaefer View. They're coming off of Meridian Road. Several concerns that we mentioned during the neighborhood meeting that we were hoping would be kind of looked at maybe a little bit better. These first 4 lots here, I can't see on here the lot numbers that are adjacent coming off of the Schaefer View. The access there would be into our subdivision. And also is a blind corner coming in off of Meridian Road. And if you've been off of Meridian Road into that subdivision, getting across there, sometimes the traffic is moving quite fast. We are pretty concerned about safety of children and residences on that corner with those 4 lots there. I appreciate the little access pathway there, but it's still, I'm concerned. We're really concerned about the safety of the people in that little corridor right there, and coming into the subdivision and adding that much more traffic to the subdivision as it is right now. It might be too many lots. I don't know. Of course, when we all bought into this Schaefer View subdivision, we were 1 acre lots with the idea that the plan going forward around us would be a minimum of 1 acre lots. And of course, times change, and now we're looking at lots that are much smaller than that, which seem to kind of go against our grain a little bit, of course. But working on half-acre lots, we kind of understand that. The buffer of the canal is making some difference, but I remember, at least in my mind, from the neighborhood discussion that we had, that the lots to the south that bordered the canal in Schaefer View were going to be 1 story, so they would not block the views that we have of the mountains at this point. We have some nice views of Schaefer View, thus Schaefer View subdivision, Schaefer Butte, excuse me. And so we were, kind of hoping on that area there. The emergency access that's there at the end of the cul-de-sac comes into where the no access is allowed from the canal company, and we're coming across that access there with all the irrigation and the pump house and all that stuff, and making an access road through the Boise Border Control access. So anyway, some of the lot widths and stuff, trying to get through there. So a little concerned about those things, and the development around the entryway and those 4 lots coming in as a safety concern for children and stuff playing there. That is a very volatile. It's coming around the corner, and it's an uphill, it's a blind corner coming around there, and it sometimes gets a little worrisome there. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Excuse me, sorry, Madam Chair. Next is Gail Ward.
Thank you.
That's all right. My name's Gail Ward, 152 East Schaefer View. Also, my husband, we live in that very first house. You know, I know progress brings all these homes into our neighborhoods, and, you know, we want a country atmosphere, and it's getting taken away and it's getting gobbled up real fast. But what really concerns me too is those 4 lots in the beginning of our subdivision. Like Marv said, safety is an issue first. And the other thing is you're coming into acre lots. You're putting 4 little houses coming into acre lots. I want to know why. I mean, you could easily put, you know, 2 houses in an acre each. I just think it kind of starts tearing down our subdivision, and it's not meant to be that way. It's supposed to be acre lots in that section. So that's my opinion. I don't think it's appropriate to put 4 houses there. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers or online that wishes to speak on this application? If you would press the raise hand if you're online. Okay. Seeing no other public testimony, John, would you like to address those comments?
Yes, please. Actually, I'm going to switch screens, pull up the landscape plan. Here's the preliminary plat landscape plan, which depicts these 4 lots. And you can see the landscape buffer here we're proposing. Also like to, you know, I didn't actually talk about this, but I would like to address it. There, you can see here the vision triangle on the one side. This landscape plan, we've only addressed the area immediate or included in the plat. However, I would also like to just speak to this entrance. So we talked about this at the neighborhood meeting, and there definitely is some concern about visibility coming in or going out, as there's a substantial grade change coming up Schaefer View from Meridian Road. There's some landscaping that is fairly mature, some large trees, and it is our intent, we'd like to redo this area, actually on both sides, and would be glad to make it a condition of approval address that to increase the visibility and to mitigate any of the safety concern there, and to beautify this frontage at the same time. The other item mentioned, I guess these 4 lots here, with the exception of number 5, are all approximately a half an acre in size. 5 is a little bit smaller, however, it's adjacent to the open space. Additionally, you know, there was some discussion about the views to Schaefer Butte, and I'm going to flip back to the overall view here, but there is quite a bit of grade change through this property. It all slopes down from Schaefer View Drive down to this drainage. And for example, across these lots through here, there's approximately 5 to 7 feet of fall. And there's also a grade change across these lots as well. And so it's our feeling, strong feeling, that even though we would have two-story homes there, it will not impede views to the north. There's about, as you transition here to the east, there's even more grade change, approximately 15 feet across this. And, and that was one of the reasons here to provide some of this open space in between, just to provide as much buffer as possible to the existing homes.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Okay. Thank you, John. If you don't have any other comments, it looks like we don't have any other questions for you. So at this time, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing on H-2020-0117 Schaefer View Terrace.
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on H-2020-0117. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. But I know we had a lot of questions for the applicant. Do we have comments going on from there?
Madam Chair,
Anybody would you? Commissioner Casanelli.
question for staff. Sonia, was there any feedback from ITD on this? Were they requiring anything, any upgrades to the entrance to Schaefer View Drive or anything? Because there's nothing in the agency comments from ITD since Meridian Road is theirs.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Casanelli, excuse me. No, there were no comments from ITD submitted.
Okay. So does that mean they didn't review it, or they just didn't have any comments?
No idea.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Seal.
This is a tricky one for me. So there's some things about it that I like. I do like, the fact that there is a transition that's happening in here, and there's a grade change that will help with that. It'd be nice if they were, sensitive to the viewscape. I mean, we've had several applications come in where, we are not the protectors of viewscape. So unfortunately, if you're on the south side of something that faces Bogus Basin or that area, eventually there's going to be something in your way, which is unfortunate, but it's also inevitable at this point in time. But the open space is what's kind of got me tied up a little bit on this, where there seems to be an abundance of it, but it's more, we have drainages, we have irrigation facilities and things like that, where, a tot lot here, considering what it is and the size of the lots, I don't know if that's really a good fit here. The multi-sport area, I see that as something that would probably be more utilized. And I've kind of got an issue with that drainage or whatever it is on the north east corner of it, where that's, to me, something needs to be done with that, so that it's not a burden on the subdivision itself. I've lived in a subdivision where there was an area like that was just an afterthought, where we're just going to seed it and see what happens, and it ended up just being a huge mess that was a burden of the subdivision that I lived in. So I just think something needs to happen there. Plus, there's several waivers that they're asking for in order to get this thing in there. So it just seems like there's an awful lot to it that doesn't quite match up yet. To me, it's not quite ready for some of those reasons.
Other thoughts? I can jump in. I appreciate what they're trying to do, and I think we should add that recommendation in to the motion about the landscape on the entry on the north and south side of Schaefer View Drive. I appreciate them being willing to address both sides of that. I guess the open space is not as big a deal to me just because they are a little bit bigger lots, but it'd be like to hear other comments on that. And yeah, that grassy area should probably be addressed. And I think, with the elevation difference, I think some of those views are naturally going to be a little bit protected as much as they can be. But yeah, we're not the protector of people's view sheds. I would comment that the 4 lots at the entry, I agree that maybe as the entrance to that subdivision, maybe that should be 2 or 3 lots. That's my take on it at this point. Happy to hear what others have to say. Commissioner Holland, you just came off mute.
My biggest concern was around ITD, since we didn't receive comment from them. I know that this road is a very busy road with a lot of people growing in subdivisions that connect off of it. So whenever you can limit accesses off to the main highway, the better. And I know this one does put a few more cars on the highway, but relatively speaking, it's more appropriate in density to enter, because you're not going to have a lot of cars on a R2, R4 type subdivision that you would in a R6, R8. So I'm okay with it, but I would love to see better interconnectivity with trying to route cars off of using the highway directly, if that's possible. I would have liked to have seen these 2 neighborhoods actually looped and had 1 access point off the highway instead of 2. But I don't think that that's something we can necessarily do. Let me make sure that I'm understanding that. Do they have that northern subdivision, that the newer part, they have an access point on the north that's going to connect? They don't. Okay.
Yeah, I think they are.
They're connecting through the R8
Yeah.
neighborhood to the north instead. Okay, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that because it looked like there could be a road there and I got confused on that one. I don't see a huge issue with adding the homes to the Schaefer Butte subdivision, but I agree that there's not really a need to add 4. Maybe they could compromise and come in with 3 instead of 4. I don't know that I necessarily want to restrict them on that. I don't see having 4 additional houses being a huge burden on the traffic coming in out of that loop, but I'm open either way on that. And I don't see a huge issue with the green space or open space, just because they're larger lot sizes, so they probably don't need as many community amenities either. Sorry, those are kind of some rambly thoughts.
Madam Chair.
Okay, I was gonna say, Commissioner Casanelli, you're off mute now. Go ahead.
I'm really surprised ITD didn't weigh in. I'm coming in off of this is their opportunity with more development there to require an accelerate, an accel decel lane, and there really isn't one there at Schaefer View. I would, I would kind of like to condition for at least something. If ITD says we got nothing, then they got nothing. But I would like to hear from them or have council hear from them. Personal opinion looking at this, I mean, I've got a couple of concerns about the transition. I'm okay with the open space. I don't think it really, I do think the tot lot is probably not necessary, but I think that sport court would be well utilized, as Commissioner Seal said. But I would like to see a little bit better transition on along the canal on the north, specifically those lots that I mentioned, maybe pulling a lot there. They're only 90 feet wide, backing up to acre lots. And I get that they're long, so they're larger lots, but they're narrow. And then maybe lose a lot, at least just one of those 4 coming in on Schaefer View. The developer can certainly put houses that are fitting of those lots, and I think the comments we always hear, it's got a pencil, it's got a pencil. I think that if they pull a couple of lots in here, that the homes that they put on them will sell accordingly, and they can put the homes that they need to. I mean, this is, again, it's, R2 and R4 are going to be larger homes. And I think they could afford to lose a couple lots in there and do it properly and have a better transition. That's what I'd like to see.
Other thoughts? Commissioner Grove?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Grove.
I'm largely in favor of this project. The lots look small, or smaller in comparison to the lots that are to the south, but when we start looking at some of the other projects around town, like these lots are pretty big. And so when I first looked at it, I had a hard time adjusting, I think, because I was trying to compare it to the lots directly next to it versus kind of what normally would go into an R4 like size, or the R8 size to the north of it. So I'm not as concerned. The only small concern that I had would be with the 4 lots on the south side. It feels like they're completely disconnected from the rest of the subdivision because there's no direct access to the rest of the other 46 homes. And so that was my only concern, is that, even with like a footbridge or something across the canal, it'd be nice to be able to connect. But with 4 homes, I don't know if it's feasible. But that'd be my biggest concern there. Other than that, I mean, I'm okay with the open space on this project. And I hear the concerns that have been addressed, but to me, I don't have as much heartburn about some of the concerns that have been raised.
Thank you. Commissioner Yearsley, Commissioner Lorcher. Anybody else have any comments? Or does somebody want to take a poke at a motion? I don't know that we're in a place where, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not hearing like we're in a place where we want to recommend denial or a continuance, but maybe an approval with some thoughts on conditions. But we're a quiet bunch tonight, so any comments or motions to move it along? Wow. Okay, Commissioner Yearsley, you came off mute.
I was just going to say I agree with most of what everyone's talking about. I'm not as, I think it's it's kind of hard to compare to the other ones because the lots are so big. I think these lots are pretty good size. I think it'll be a good comparison to them. It might be a little bit smaller, but they're still bigger homes. So I think it's fairly complementary to the other homes.
Okay. And would anybody like to take a shot at a motion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Grove.
I will do my best.
You and Commissioner Holland were having a grit and warfare there. Who was gonna jump in?
Commissioner Holland, you can correct me as I go.
I'll let you have this one.
Yeah, sure. All right. After considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to recommend approval to City Council of file number H 2020-0117 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of February 4th, 2021 with the following modifications. That an ITD review be completed before going to council. That the applicant improve the southern entrance off of Meridian Road, and that that we recommend removal of one of the lots for lots 2 through 5.
Do we have a second?
Madam Chair,
Oh, yes, Sonia.
excuse me, is that motion to include staff's recommended new conditions and modification?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second,
I'll
Stan.
second that.
Anyway, it has been moved and seconded to recommend approval of H-2020-0117 with modifications. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Madam Clerk, did you get the recorded votes there?
Madam Chair, we did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes.
Madam Chair, this is Andrea Pogue. Would you
Yes.
just confirm, Commissioner Casanelli, you were the nay vote?
I was a nay. That is correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Seal as well.
Okay, great. I only heard one. Thank you. So I would just like to take just 1 minute before the final motion and welcome our new chairperson, or new commissioner, Maria Lorcher. So thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to having you with us the next several years.
Thank you very much.
I can't wait to see you in person.
I know. Soon.
You're all fuzzy.
I know. I'll have to get better equipment.
I think we're almost turning the corner. We might be able to meet in chambers, and you are welcome to meet in chambers, by the way, whenever you're comfortable. So,
Okay, thank you.
so with that, do we have one more motion?
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Good night.
Good night.
Everyone.
Good.